You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, we got Sophie Cunningham talking about three key things for the upcoming season. Well, actually, two key things for the upcoming season, and making comments about Project B, the basketball league that is not funded by the Saudis. Okay. Not funded by the Saudis. She's asked straight up, hey, they're paying good money. What do you think? We'll get to that answer. First, let's start here. And this is all from an interview with Front Office Sports that came out today. All right. Sophie Cunningham gets honest about the Fever's need for making the WNBA Finals. In other words, what needs to happen for them to make the finals? I think the answer is, pretty obvious, but this is what Sophie said. Quote, honestly, I think the missing piece is just being healthy. I think that's the name of the game. And even when we weren't healthy, we were a couple of calls away from making it to the finals. And so for us, I think just the amount of adversity we had through what we went through this past year, I think it's setting us up. There's a lot of uncertainty. Like you said, with the CBA, with the money, if we're even going to have a league next year. And then if people want to come back, we're trying to keep the core together. Okay, so that's a good sign for her Indiana Fever future. At least we're very aware. Sophie's like, hey, we're trying to keep the core of this team together. That's a good sign. Obviously, somebody like me, I'd love to see Sophie Cunningham stay with the Indiana Fever. And so, if we do, I think we just have to stay healthy. We have to keep building day by day, and I think we have a good shot, she added. Okay, so that right there tells you, I mean, it's pretty obvious. If the Indiana Fever would have been, if Caitlin Clark would have, in other words, and this is why I believe they should have kept Caitlin Clark on the roster. Because once you get into the semifinals, then maybe she would have been healthy enough to have given it a go. All right? I think the Indiana Fever made an assumption, and a bad one. We're not going to make it. We don't have any chance to win the first round series. Is basically by not having Caitlin on that roster and available just in case. The Indiana Fever's organization themselves was basically telling you, we don't believe we can even make the semifinals. Because we know Caitlin Clark comes back, they make it to the finals. And honestly, they probably win the whole thing. It was a missed opportunity by the leadership and the organization of the Indiana Fever. Okay, we found out yesterday from Caitlin herself, she's 100% healthy. All right, she had to be getting relatively close by the time they made the semifinals. Okay, so the other key takeaway here is the uncertainty around the CBA with the money. We've heard a couple of players and different people talk about the idea of if there is a season next year. I'm starting to wonder if a lot of players believe that there's going to be a lockout at this point, because that's kind of what you get the feeling of. And if they're going to hold out for the revenue share that they're trying to get, there won't be a season next year. There won't be a season next year. I don't see there's a world where the NBA owners, in particular, where these owners concede on that issue. I do not. I think if they're not okay with getting a 3 or 4 times increase in salary and then a revenue share after profit is made. By the way, a couple of these teams actually do want to get paid back for some of the money they've lost in the past. The independently owned ones, the ones that are not owned by the actual NBA owners, they want to make some money back for what they've already lost in the past. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They have been holding this league up forever. In order to make it to this point, if those owners wasn't willing to lose money, it would not be a thing right now. The league would not exist. One of the things that opened up because of the W's inability to pay players in other leagues are popping up the unrivaled. Now we see Project B offering multi-million-dollar contracts. Where do you stand on Project B? Is that a league that you'd want to play for? I don't know much about it. You know, you see stuff on social media, but I also know how social media goes. So you take it with a grain of salt. But you know, if people are going to pay you multi-million-dollar deals, why would you not? ? So that is basically her saying right there, if they're willing to pay multi-millions of dollars, you're basically out of your mind if you don't go play over there. Because, and we talked about it just yesterday, I think it was. We talked about it already before. Multi-year $10 million plus contracts. 3 years, $10 million, let's say. Why would somebody like Sophie, that would give her the chance to earn more money than she's ever made in the W combined, and that she will make in the W combined. She'd be set up for life. 3 seasons, maybe it's 2 seasons. 2 years, $5 million each season. The fact is, we don't know what Agumake and Thomas are really getting paid. They may be making $5 million a year. They may be making $8 million. $2 million is the minimum. Minimum. All right? You know, not to be rude to some of these other players, but that's like, you know, Odyssey Sims decides to go over there. And if they want her, they'd pay somebody like her $2 million. For a superstar, I mean, I still think there's a world where they may give Caitlin Clark between $15 and $30 million for a season. I just have a feeling that when that number comes out and that number drops, it's going to break the basketball world. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.